Hi, I'm Kristina from Two Peas in a Bucket, and I'm here to show you my picks for this week. I have to apologize in advance. I have a cold, so I'm a little red in the nose and a little throaty in the voice. I'm sorry about that. This week I went a little out of my comfort zone. In the last few weeks I was just kind of settling into my new segment, and I picked all the things that I really liked, which was, the bright colors, but I also really enjoy the vintage inspired papers. And so this week I picked a lot of vintage type product and theme. It also is in my color. This top one is anyway. My color choices in the teal and the ledgers and stuff. This is the Girls Paperie collection from Advantis. I really like the teal and the word print on these. Very vintage florals. And the aging on the corners. I like this black and white dot. This ledger, of course. Pink. This teal. I like the aging on the corners again. And here's that quilt one. I've showed you this one before. I like the different actual uses of their actual patterned paper that they used in this. You could match it very easily to the other things. Another dot. Pink florals. And then this is the On Holiday, which is a little less girl. No pink. Well, I'm sorry, there is pink right there, but not quite as florally floral and girl inspired, I guess. This one has a little bit more versatility to it. I like this ledger paper. It's got a lot of yellow and blue and red. More primary colors. Of course, this banner paper, which should be really popular right now with all of the banner elements that are in the gallery. And the brown. I really like this red polka dot. And this one here. To go along with that collection, I picked the Prima papers, which are very vintage and collage and art oriented, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Lots of different mix of elements, and which is not something I personally would normally pick on an everyday layout, but some people work this so well, and it's so beautiful to be added with some of their flowers and their other elements, the blings and things like that. These, the real detail, realistic flowers and birds and frame elements. But on the back of these papers, they have these all-over patterns that go with their theme, but are a little less strong. So if you like this kind of look and you want to get into it, I would definitely recommend starting with some of the B-sides, because this may not be for everyone, but you definitely could use the rest of this. Even something like this, where it's several different kind of design elements together, and you just can use pieces and parts of it and kind of work your way into it. I use this one actually on one of my layout that I'm going to show you. I really like this one. And see that the backs are really nice, and that they're muted and not so heavy on the embellishment. I like this one also. They really remind me of some Seven Gypsies papers from almost 10 years ago. I think this is really great. I like that pink dot. Of course, it's pink. I like it. I like the splashes on here. It reminds me that this collection and the vintage type themes product would be great to be using with the mists, the Maya mist and the glimmer mists. I love this. I love this also, and this teal. I think these are really great. These have been really, really popular on our site since they came out this winter. I like this with both the pink and the teal. This one in particular, the Flights of Fancy collection, has been really popular. A lot of people have picked these ones up. And this last one, this is the Shabby Chic. The pink. If you really like the Prima papers, I would also suggest that you look at some of their florals. These are the essentials that go with their collections. Like this one is the Flights of Fancy floral. These are paper flowers. They have them in solid colors, but then they also have them, can you see that? I'm not sure if there's a glare, but you can actually see they've used the actual papers from the collection and just cut them into flowers. So if you really like those colors and their patterns from their paper, this is a really nice element to either use on a different layout or in combination with them. And they all coordinate. And they've got some really great sizes and different kinds of flower petals within each one. So, and you really get a great value. And they're paper, so they don't stick up a lot. You can use as many as you want in a layer or just one. So I would suggest checking these out. They come in for almost every paper collection. I'm going to show you my sample layout. I used several different combinations of those different things. This is the Prima, this is the girls' Paperie, and this one down here where I cut the banner out down here and on the side and just kind of sewed those on. And then I picked up a whole bunch of different elements that we have in our store that I thought actually kind of coordinate with vintage. But as you can see, my layout doesn't look really vintage, and it's not a vintage photograph. I just tried to use those vintage-inspired products in a way that worked in a layout for me. Some of those products are from Jenni Bowlin. She's got these great labels. Jenni Bowlin has a lot of really nice products that go along with a vintage style. These ones are the label stickers. These are her signature colors usually. She's got alphabets, banners, alphabets, all kinds of different products and buttons and embellishments and papers. But this time I just picked these label strip stickers. I wasn't intending to use the one that I put on my layout as journaling, but I ran out of time and didn't have time to do that, so I picked those. The other things that I picked were different tapes. These are the ones that are just in right now from Pink Paisley. I think these are really great. I really like the designs. They're pretty simple. It just comes in a simple roll like this. It's not quite clear, and it's more like paper. It's not like a scotch or something like that. It tears really easy, and they have some really nice designs, like this really nice houndstooth that is really small and doesn't take up a lot of design space. I also threw in this Prima. I really like this Prima one. This one is more like a scotch. It's see-through. It has a little serrated edge here on the thing, so you can, well, tear not so easily, tear it, and cut it and do whatever you want with it. So I also picked this one. I particularly like the barcode. I also threw in a few 7 Gypsies. They have both paper tapes in lots of different colors. This is actually more like a masking tape. And it is kind of see-through, as you can see a little bit, but it's really easy to rip. It basically feels, and it can be used just like masking tape, like you would on any other project, though, which is really fun. They have it in a lot of different colors. And then I also I put through in their gaffer tapes. The gaffer tapes are actually more like a fabric, so they're thick and woven. They are generally not see-through. They're not easy to tear. They have to be cut, but they're more like a binding, like a book binding. See, you can manipulate them and stretch them and put them around this edge of a book or something, but you have to actually cut them and not rip them like the others. They've had these for a really long time, particularly black with numbers and letters that have always been really popular, and they've recently come out with more to match their paper tapes and their other new collections that they've come out with. So I really like tapes. And I used quite a few on my layout, and I think they go really well with a vintage-inspired layout and products. I also picked the findings from Making Memories, vintage findings. I wouldn't normally pick up a lot of products like these because I don't do a lot of vintage-type layouts, but they have a lot of really fun little packages of products. Some of them are like this, where it's just all one thing. It's all labels. This one is like little glassine envelopes that has see-through that you can put anything you want inside there and then attach it to your layout. And some of them are like this, where it's a little kit, and you get several different elements inside there. You got some buttons and some charms and some stickers behind there and some tags. I picked just a couple. There's a really small size, there's a medium-sized kit that you can get, and usually they're themed. So obviously this one is love, and you get tickets and some pins and a paper clip and buttons and all different kinds of things. This is the medium kit. They also have a large kit. They usually have a sample on the back too. And then I threw in some of these really itty-bitty ones too. Like this one is a little envelope full of all different kinds of reissued stamps, I guess, used stamps to use on vintage layouts. I used, oops, and here's some labels. And I also picked up some little flowers to show you. I use these paper shreds on my layout. They're kind of like a ticker. They're just really thin paper with words and stuff printed on them. I actually used a whole bunch of them with the words together as a strip, and then I also used just little itty bitty pieces that I ripped off and used into my Tim Holtz pins, which I'm going to show you in a second. I also used these little tickets. There's a lot of tickets on the market right now. I really like these ones. They're kind of small. And these little foil tags right here. And what I used them to attach to my layout was these really hot memo pins by Tim Holtz. Tim Holtz has a lot of products out there. Almost all of them are vintage, inspired, and artsy. And I would suggest that you look at all of them. He has some really great metals and non-metals. These ones are called memo pins. They actually are like a stick pin. So they're pointy at the end, and then they are like a paper clip at the top, and they have two little clasps, I guess, and you can stick your things inside there and then pin it to your layout. I didn't do anything too fancy with them. I just stuck them down in between two different sheets of paper, but you could pin them to a ribbon. You could pin them to, you could actually pin them to your paper. I stuck two of mine through where I had sewn on my layout, but you can put a whole bunch of things inside the paper clip, tie some things on them, do all kinds of really fun things. They come in 3 different finishes inside the package, and you get 30 pins. So yeah, I think these were really cool, and I enjoyed checking them out. So that's it for this week. Those are my picks, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks!